You know, after 30 years of failure, right? You would think that Cowboy fans would be used to losing. I don't know, man. This last one, it kind of hurts in more ways than one. Let's talk about it right here on Cowboy Spit.
Here we go! Yeah, here we go! Wait, take Cowboy
Throws back of the end zone. There's CeeDee Lamb.
What's going on, everybody? Cowboy C3. Let me start with a disclaimer. First of all, I am never late. You guys are just early. Anyway, well, it's been an interesting couple of days just in Cowboy news in general. We were talking about after the game on Sunday, and we were, and it's kind of like one of those things like you're in the heat of the moment. And I guess the and we'll just talk about the blocked punt thing first. And if you think about it, man, it's super simple. Once a punt is punted and it goes past the line of scrimmage, if you touch the punt, it's a live ball. Like it's a super simple rule. Doesn't matter if it's blocked or not. Once it crosses the line of scrimmage and the receiving team touches it and you don't recover it cleanly, and the offensive team recovers it, shit, it's a fumble. It's pretty simple. I mean, that's not rocket science. So no, it really wasn't controversial once you sit back and just think about it, right? It's a fumble. A lot of things have been in question. There was a report that Jerry, after the game went straight to Bones Fossil and asked him, and was very adamant and upset about, them calling for a block punt at that time. But it was, everybody kind of had to sit down and understand. And he came back, he came outside and he kind of doubled up on it. You could tell that he was clearly upset in this post-game interview. And, he was like, doubting the decision to go after the punt, doubting the head coach, doubting the coaching staff. And they were like, look, man, like this dude we didn't call the punt block. That was the normal rush. We had a return set up. Nick Vigil just broke through and blocked the punt. And then there was a series of unfortunate events that transpired that ultimately lost you the game. Like, it's pretty simple. And a lot of people have here recently, I've been doing it for a long time, have just kind of questioned Jerry's football acumen. Like, do you really understand the game? Like, he was questioning the coaching staff, do you guys understand, the parameters of what just happened? And they're like, yeah, like, we get it, and Mike McCarthy came out after the game in his interview and one of the first things that he said was that we did not call a punt block. This was just something that happened. Right. And, there's so many times that I've done it, and I've questioned, whether or not, Jerry knows what the hell he's doing. And, first of all, you cannot deny, and, you can't deny it at all that he is a very, very, very successful businessman. He's a very successful businessman. He took $176 million investment and turned it into a $12 billion franchise, excuse me. You cannot question his business decisions and the way that he conducts his business with the football team. You can't question that at all. This dude has made a humongous profit off an organization that everybody told him he was crazy if he bought it, right? But you can question his football knowledge and you can question his football acumen. You can do that. You can do that 100% because of the things that transpire on the field. And the reason that I'm even talking about this is because I've said it before and, in the past, Jerry's not going to bring in a head coach, any kind of coach on any part of the coaching staff that's going to outshine him. He's not going to do it. So fast forward into, you don't even have to fast forward till now from time he bought the team to now. You can just look at the history of the coaches that have come after Jimmy. They haven't been very good. You had one that was, and Bill Parcells. He was excellent, an excellent football coach, and he won with a bad team. He took a bad team to the playoffs. And then he basically went in and was like, hey, man, like, I'm winning with your bad team. Now let me do things my way. And, I can bring you Super Bowls. That's not going to happen. You know what I mean? So Bill Parcells was gone. After that, your Galeys, your Campos, your Jason Garrett's, and now the Mike McCarthy. It's the same old tune. Nothing has changed, right? So you get into a game like on Monday night, and you start to really look at it. And I looked at the game afterwards, and after football games, I like to watch the game. They have condensed versions of the game. You can go and watch them, and it takes like 30 minutes. And I like to turn the volume down and just watch the game and just kind of watch the ebbs and the flows of the game. And this offense in the third and fourth quarter was tremendously bad. And you start to question the play calling too, because it's like, hey, you got a running back that's averaging 7 yards a carry. Why does he only have 18? Why does he only have 18 rushes? And when I said it after the game, I thought, okay, maybe I'm tripping, maybe I'm being emotional, right? But then I started to listen to people. I don't really listen to, your mainstream sportscasters. I listen to them, and I pay attention to what they're saying, I guess, but not really. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of football fans that have podcasts, right, that are Cowboy fans, and they really understand the game, and they start to break things down, right? And they were asking the same question, like, why does Rico Dowdle only have 18 carries in a game like this where he's averaging 7 yards a carry? Like, he needs to carry the ball at least 25 times. You put the game into the hands of Cooper Rush, who barely threw for 50%, and he threw for 160-something yards, and, he threw a pick in the red zone. Like, this is not the guy, and it's not Dak. He's not Dak Prescott. He's not him. And Dak played like crap this season too. But then you start to look like, hey, man, like, this play calling is really bad. It is. This offense is bad. It's designed bad. I listen to Troy Aikman talk about how Bengals, route combinations and all this stuff, and how they, they'll force the defense to make a decision, and it makes defenders look lost. Bro, you rarely see Cowboy receivers wide open. Rarely. It's always a tight window throw. Always. And that's just how it's designed, right? It's designed. It's very, very basic. There's one guy that goes in motion, that's CeeDee Lamb. Or if he, or it'll be Kevontae Turpin. And whoever's going in motion, half of the time they're going to get that little jet sweep thing that they do that gains 3 or 4 yards. Jamar Chase gets a jet sweep and it goes for 16 yards. And it's just the way it's designed, the way it's blocked up, the way everything is happening, right? And it's like, there's no creativity to the Cowboy offense. You play a Bengals team who have 2 good receivers, and they have a good tight end, and they got a pretty decent running back. You know what I mean? He's not terrible at all. But you start to look at the way that their offense is designed, the ball is going to Jamar Chase half of the time. You know that, right? But they still can design plays and write it up to where this dude is wide open. And where the ball is going, and it's wide open. How is that possible? It's all in the play design. And the way that the way that this offense is set up, man, it's like I am a football person. I played when I was a kid. I played through high school. I played some in college. I joined the Navy. I loved the game. I played, semi-pro ball in the Navy. I was one of them 37U dudes. You know what I'm saying? I played flag football. What's up, Joker? Played flag football, and I just continue to play football. And, like, there are ways to scheme things open. And I understand that, right? And I also understand that if I can sit here in my living room and I can call plays at 65%, right? What makes you think that a defensive coordinator that gets paid to call plays on, to determine what the offense is doing, what makes you think he's not doing it at like 80%, maybe 90? I remember Darius Slay said a couple years ago, he was like, man, look, we know what the Cowboys going to do. They've been running the same plays for a long, long time. It's just, um, you know, he was talking about Dak Prescott. He said, Dak just makes it work. Like, I don't know how he does it. He just makes it work. And, you had offenses like the New England Patriots where, you had people say, they run 9, 10 plays. You know what I'm saying? That's all they run. But it's just how they run them. You know what I mean? And they run them in different formations and they kind of mix things up and it's hard to decipher what they're going to do. And, you know, this is not that type of offense. It's pretty, and it's simple to digest. On the defensive side, you played okay against the run. You didn't play terrible against the run. They popped some pretty good runs, 12, 14 yards, but nothing really like what's happening in the beginning of the season where people are popping 55, 60 yards. That didn't happen, right? But your corners were absolute garbage cans in this game. Trayvon Diggs got beat like a drum. Deron Bland got beat like a drum. Your safeties seemed like they were out of position. It was kind of hard to watch in the pass game, but you held the game pretty close, right? Where it became, we're gonna have to do something. It's gonna have to be a dynamic play call, something that happens that's gonna spark this loose, right? That like you have to have. This is where your coaching staff comes in. Okay, this is a pretty evenly played ball game. Sure, we've given up some big plays, and I'm talking about pre-punt return. Not punt, yeah, the pre-punt block. There's something that's gonna have to happen that where I'm gonna have to make a supreme play call right now that's gonna boost this team and get this team moving. And it never happened. And to be honest, it doesn't happen. Now here in Dallas, it hasn't happened in a long, long time, right? One thing about Kellen Moore, and I talk noise about Kellen Moore all the time, man, because I thought he was a pretty horrible offensive coordinator too. But and then he went to LA to the Chargers last year and he stunk that whole joint up, right? But now, with Philly right now, he seems to be doing a pretty damn good job. He got some weapons that he can work with. But one thing about Kellen Moore's offense, at least it was wide open. That Cooper Rush was pretty successful in that offense. You know what I mean? And you just start to question, like, Brian Schottenheimer, man, he's the offensive coordinator, sure, man. But he's kind of a figurehead. That's really all he is. He's not the one with the play call sheet. He's not the one with that big Waffle House menu sitting in front of his face calling the plays. That's not him. That's your head coach that's doing that, right? So, and then you start to you start to really look at the entire situation. You start to realize, man, that for some people, I guess they start to realize it, but I've been saying it for a long, long time, man. Like this whole organization, man, is just predicated on your top, right, which is your owner, right? Because he is the face of this franchise, and he's made it that way. That's the way he wants it. He's the face of the franchise, and the coaching staff, man, they're just there. That's what they do. And I think, McCarthy, you can see his frustration. Dak Prescott did an interview not so long ago, a couple of weeks ago, where he said, Mike McCarthy, did he deserve a contract? They were talking about if he deserved a contract. He was like, yeah, Mike McCarthy deserves another contract, but he deserves to do things his way. Like, what does that mean? And I believe it means like, hey, I get to choose my own coaching staff. I get to do my own thing, and I get to do things my way. I'm not dictated by somebody that's kind of pulling my strings, and that's the way the direction that the team is going to go, right? And I don't think anybody wants to work like that. So, and then you have a player, man, that was described as the shining light of the team, man. You have him get hurt, DeMar Overshown. And, we talked about it after the game, and, I said, when you start dealing with knee injury, especially a player that's had a knee injury before, man, that it could be devastating. Well, it was on the other leg, but it was more devastating than I think anybody ever thought it would be. So DeMar Overshown tore his ACL, MCL, and PCL. Good thing about it was there was no nerve damage, right? That was done, but he's going to be out of course, for the rest of this season. And there's a lot of questions because of the timing of the injury, how he could be out for the entire 2025 season as well. And that really sucks because he was really starting to come into his own. Hell, he came into his own. He was the person that held down the defense, even when Michael Parsons. When Michael Parsons was out, even though he's been back, Overshown's been playing. He's been balling. I mean, absolutely balling. 90 tackles, 5 sacks, interception. You know what I'm saying? Return for a touchdown. Like Overshown has had a hell of a year in really his rookie campaign, right? Because last year he got hurt in training camp and, he didn't play all year. And, his head coach described him as the shining light of the team. He is the light. Eric Kendricks after the game, man, was super emotional, voice cracking. You could tell that, it brought tears to his eyes. He was like, this guy is the reason that he's kind of rejuvenated my career, right? He's the one, he's like, I'm a veteran. I've been doing this for a while. He was like, and it just becomes kind of a routine, kind of a job. He was like, you got guys like this in the locker room, man, that are just, they're so upbeat and they're so energetic and they just make everybody around them, it's infectious and it makes everybody feel good around him. He was injured last year and there was a group of guys that were injured and they were all doing rehab together. And, his coaching staff talked about how he was the leader of that little rehab group and they became it was like a close bond. And he was the one that came in, and pushed everybody and got everybody going. And, he's a shit, man. One of the guys he was with, I think it was Nick Vigil, man. He ended up being in his wedding, and you just form bonds with people, and it's with everybody in the locker room. He was one of those. He's one of those type of guys. Not was because he's still on the team. He's one of those type of guys that brings competitive spirit. He brings enthusiasm. He brings excitement. He brings all this stuff to a football team. Like this dude is just happy to be here. He grew up a Cowboy fan. He talks about that all the time. His family was, I don't have to make my family change football teams. He wanted to be a Dallas Cowboy and he went out and you could tell, man, like this dude just loved football. And it's players like that, man, when they get hurt, man, that can be devastating to a football team. And especially when you're dealing with a knee injury like this, because he may not come back the same guy. He may not. That's a blown out knee. His knee is blown out, and he's going to have surgery here very soon. They said either tomorrow, Friday, or Saturday. And, after that, it's going to be an extremely long road to recovery. Extremely long. And, hopefully he can stay upbeat. I know, the guys, the way Michael Parsons reacted after the game too, you could tell he had been crying. And it hurt his feelings, you know what I'm saying? Because he lost. He said, that's my little brother, man. Those guys will keep him upbeat. But it's going to be a long road to recovery, man. It's going to be super long. And it's going to suck. And if you really think about it, man, the way that this season has gone and, just dealing with injuries, it started with Sam Williams in training camp. He on the IR, he tore his knee up and he was gone. Then, you got people like, you just lost Zach Martin. You've got Marquise Bell with his shoulder. He's out for the rest of the season. Earl Bostic with his leg out for the season. You got Josh Butler just tore his ACL as well, out for the season. You've got Kalen Carson with the shoulder out for the season. You've got DeMarcus Lawrence still hasn't come back yet. You've got Deron Bland just came back. He missed the first 11, 10 games of the season, missed the first 11 weeks. Zach Martin with the ankle, he's gone. Overshown now, gone. Dak Prescott, gone. Asim Richards, gone. John Stevens, gone. Nathan Thomas, gone. Brandon Cooks out for 6-8 weeks with an infection in his knee. This has been a truly, truly devastating season with the injury bugs. And, like I said, the schedule, I said it before, the schedule doesn't get any easier. You've got a resurgent Carolina team coming up next. Bryce Young's playing very, very good football. You can tell that he took his benching. Andy Dalton took over. He took that serious. He took it very serious. He looks like Alabama Bryce Young now. That's exactly how he looks. He looks like that guy. He's moving around again. He's running if the pocket breaks down. He's throwing great passes. Against Philly, he threw a pass to Xavier Legette where they should have won that football game. Philly escaped out of that with a victory. They did the same thing. They played Kansas City tough. They played them tough too, right? You got a Tampa team that just took over first place in that division in the NFC, what is it? NFC South. Just took over the first place in that division. Baker Mayfield, another guy, kind of a journeyman, moved around the league for a little while, found a home in Tampa. He's balling out of control too, having great success with what he's doing. Then you got to play Philly again. Shit, they probably, right now in power rankings, they're the second best team in the NFL. Play excellent football. And then you got to play Washington again, who they're going to come in here, man. They're probably going to be fighting for one of these wild card spots because that NFC North got all the damn wild card spots right now. They're going to be fighting for a playoff spot, and then they feel like they owe you one for what you did to them, at home, at their house earlier in the season. They feel like, they kind of got slighted on that one, and they're going to come in here and they're going to try to beat you up. So, this schedule is not going to get any easier, man. And, dealing with all these injuries, especially this last one, man. It just, I don't know, man. It felt different. Overshawn was that guy this season. He really was. And to see him go out, especially like this, and especially the severity of the injury, man, that kind of stings. And you can tell that it affected the ball club. And hopefully they can pick up the pieces to it, man, and try to finish this season, at least salvage it. Right now with 5 wins, I think they're sitting right there in the middle of the draft board. It's been a lot of speculation about who they would draft. I mean, it's too early to tell. You don't know what's going to happen. Some of these star players, God forbid, they could get a serious injury too, and that would drop them down on their draft boards. And you don't know who you're going to get. You got some glaring needs, though, right? You do. You've got some offensive line needs, possibly. You definitely have some defensive line concerns. Now you might have some linebacker concerns, especially if Overshawn can't recover from this and he can't be back next season. You got some linebacker concerns. Maris Lufau will come in. He'll do a good job. He's a little bit raw, you know what I mean? But when you watch him play, you see hair around the ball. Can't tell, is it Kendricks or Lufau? It's one of them, but they always around the ball. Lufau is a good player. Maris Lufau is going to be a really good player in this league. And, now he gets the opportunity to shine. But you may need some linebacker help. You're going to need some safety help. You may need some corner help too. Diggs, he's a year removed from that ACL. I think he'll be a much better player next year. He just got to get over this injury. And he keeps getting kind of banged up too. Deron Bland, he's coming up. It'll be a contract year for him soon. Jordan Lewis has an option to leave in free agency. You don't know if he's going to stick around or not. So you may have some corner concerns as well. You got some wide receiver concerns, and you got running back concerns too. You found a pretty good running back in Rico Dowdle. I'll give you that. He's not terrible at all. However, it's going to have to be more than Rico. And the answer to that more than Rico is not Zeke. It's not. So you got some running back concerns as well. And to be honest with you, Dak is about one more injury from looking for his replacement too. Sure, he just signed a big contract, but Dak can't stay healthy. He can't. Ever since the ankle injury, it's something, and it's never anything that's small, right? Broke his thumb where he had to have a damn screw put in it as act as a joint. He had the compound fracture on his leg. Now he tore the hamstring off the bone and had to have season-ending surgery for that. But hey, congratulations, you and your fiance expecting another kid, man. Congratulations on that, man. But, we got to figure out a way to keep the quarterback healthy. One of the ways to do that is probably protect him a little bit better. But, we'll talk about that some other day. It's going to be this is going to be an interesting week, because this was one of those games where even at the beginning of the season, this is one of the games that I counted on as that 4th win, right? Well, you got 5 already, but you got this Carolina team that's coming in, and we'll talk more about Carolina on Saturday. But you've got this Carolina team coming up that is playing really, really good football. They're playing solid football. Chuba Hubbard is running the hell out of football. Your quarterback's playing well. Adam Thielen looks like he's drank a little bit of juice from the fountain of youth. Xavier Legette is going to be a good receiver. He just got to catch touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? You got to catch those type of passes. But there are things – Martha says the Cowboys need a new coach and a kicker. Coach, yes. The kicker, nah. I love that dude. I promise you, your 2 best players on this football team right now are your kicker and you're a kick returner, and that's crazy. But the Cowboys have things that they definitely need to address. I will agree with you there, Martha. And Martha is my sweetheart, so she can say whatever she wants to say. Anyway, this Carolina team, you got to go see them next Sunday at noon. And they are playing pretty confident football, even though the scoreboard hasn't really shown that, they're not winning football games. Not as much as you would, is the way you when you watch the team, you would expect them to win. But they've played two really good teams in these last couple of weeks, and they've played them ultra competitive. And you can tell that team is gaining confidence. And the one thing that they would really feel like would kind of springboard the end of their season to give them confidence going into the next season is to whoop the Cowboys' ass. And we'll talk about that. Yes, a new coach. Absolutely. Who's Martha? Martha is a person on YouTube watching this video. That's who Martha is. So, what do we do? What can we do with Carolina? There are things that Carolina does well, and there are things they have some holes, especially on defense, that we can definitely exploit. And you can exploit them doing the same things that I've been saying that they should be doing from the beginning of the season, running the damn football and playing good defense. Bryce Young is going to, he's going to get his. They got a good tight end, and we'll talk about all that stuff too. They got a pretty decent offense. They do, and their offensive line isn't terrible. But they've got some holes on defense that you can exploit. Your quarterback can't throw for 50%, though, and you got to run the football, and that's going to be very important in this next game. So Saturday, we'll break that down. Offensive, defensive keys to victories, what Carolina does well, what we can exploit on that, and what the Cowboys can do to win this football game. It is a winnable football game. Guaranteed it's a winnable football game. However, you're going to have to play well to do so. So we'll talk about that on Saturday. On Sunday, what we'll do right after the game, we'll go live, and we'll have a discussion about this football game. I think this is a football game that they can win. However, they're going to have to fire off cylinders. They're going to have to play with some heart. They're going to have to dig down deep. And one thing that they're going to have to do if they want to win football games, whether it's next week or in the future, because you got some tough games coming up, and I'm talking about within to the end of time, is this coaching staff is going to have to get their heads out of their ass, right, and coach this team to a victory. You're depleted. This team is depleted. You're going to have to put the right pieces in the right places at the right times and guide this team to victory. That's what coaching staffs do, right? Sure, players are the ones that execute the X's and O's, and I fully understand that, right? But when your X's and O's are drawn up bad, it don't matter what players you got out there. If your scheme sucks, your team's gonna suck. It's pretty simple. It's not rocket science at all. At all. It's pretty simple, right? For the Cowboys, run the ball, play good defense. You know what I'm saying? And don't turn the ball over too much. The penalties, they've done a really good job in the last couple of games with the penalty. They've definitely cut the penalties down, especially pre-snap. And I think a lot has to do with that, with Tyler Guyton sitting down these last couple of games, because he gets called for a lot of penalties. But anyway, right after the game, Sunday, we'll go live. We'll talk about the game. Saturday, we'll do the preview of the game, what Carolina does well, what the Cowboys can do to kind of counter that, and then we'll go keys to victory, offense and defense, and then we'll give our predictions. Oh, man, it's going to be tough. Joker, I'm glad you've been here since day one, man. If you haven't done it yet, though, man, like it and subscribe to the podcast, man. I would appreciate that tremendously. All right, guys. You guys have a great day, great rest of your night. Have a great day, for the rest of the week, man. I'll see you guys on Saturday. And then Sunday after the game, man, we'll go live one more time. All right, y'all. Cowboy C3, man. You guys have a great rest of your evening, man. I'll check y'all out soon. Go Cowboys. All right. Peace.